Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's Waves. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week's Waves the Key Energy Work. We just to give you a little bit about Waves the Key. My name is Becky Nakamura. I am the owner operator. I offer Reiki, shamanic Reiki, crystal singing bowls, and for the shamanic Reiki, for those of you who I'm sure is going to be a new modality in a way. It is taking Reiki and using shamanic tools as well. So I use crystals. We look at your Akashic records. I could use the drum or the rattle tuning forks to help to release stuck energy, to help you to release it from the body. We sometimes do cutaways, and it's all to help you to release that which no longer serves you so that you can move forward in your life. All of my sessions are based on intention. So when if you were to book a session with me, I would ask that you think about your intention for why you are coming for that particular day, so that we have a focus. And when we go into your Akashic records, it will be dealing with and helping you to realize that intention. So it is always a good idea to think about what you are wishing to heal or to release, what you would like to bring into your life at this particular time. So I also have you can catch these podcasts. I'm up on Waves the Key podcasts. If you miss any of the interviews, or if you wish to go back and watch them again, I'm also on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook and Instagram, so you can catch me there. And in today's guest, we have Leslie Bendick. And Leslie has been working as a school teacher for the last 10 years in a variety of grades and subjects. About 5 years ago, after focusing on self-healing, she was drawn into becoming educated in a few healing modalities to help others. These modalities include Reiki, cranial sacral, and the Bowen technique, the latter two which address stress and pain in the body with soft tissue, muscle, and nervous system focus. She is interested in the mind-body connection as well as the physical-emotional connection of past experiences that can be held in the body. She recently completed training as a breathwork facilitator to help and support others through her company that she is associated with, Pause Breathwork. What began with the energetic work of Reiki to the inner world of our breath, she appreciates being able to help and support others with their self-care and finding balance in their daily lives. And now, Leslie.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Oh, there I am. Okay, there I am. Thank you for that little beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be here and support you and share. So thank you.
You're welcome. You know, I have been going to see Leslie for cranial sacral work and the Bowen technique. And then when she studied her breath work, she needed people to practice on. So I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. So Leslie, what got you started on your journey? Or
Kind of like at the very beginning or more breath work? Want me to start at the
at
beginning?
the very beginning, yes. Let's start.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I've been in the school system teaching for about 10 years now, I think. It might even be going on to 11. And I don't know, partway through that, so I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I don't know. I think I was teaching full time. It was it was a first year contract and where I was working all year. And I just felt quite burnt out. Like I was very stressed. And I had gone for a Reiki session. I didn't know much about it. I'd gone for Reiki. And I remember so clearly feeling so relaxed after. And then the next day going to school, and my partner teacher was like, just made a comment that still sticks with me where she's like, are you feeling like you're way more relaxed than normal? Like, did something happen? Like your whole demeanor is just calmed down. And I was like, well, I went and had Reiki last night. And I think after that, it just really shifted and I couldn't believe it. And then, years go by and all of a sudden I kind of felt those little like nudges and pulls of interest, right? And like just kind of following those little threads and pulling at them. And I signed up to take a level 1 training. And then after that, it just felt like such just a beautiful way to connect back with myself. And I mean, months after that, I dove into craniosacral therapy, and it was just through a friend who had done level 1, and she was like, I'm going to do level 2 in Hawaii. You should come with me. I think you need to do this. And I was like, what? I'm not a massage therapist. She's like, it doesn't matter. Like, come do it. And I think everything just kind of has just almost like it just started from there, where it's just felt like little nudges and pulls where you do it and I fell in love with how I could support and help people like feel better or connect or maybe even have an understanding of their own body and how they're feeling and there's just so much to it, that mind body connection. And then it was just it just kept going from there. Whenever I would reach out and have questions or wonderings, another sign would come in, and it would be funny how I would get offered a teaching contract, but then something else always just came up and said, hey, like, what about this? And I'm like, oh, so that's how I jumped into Bowen, looking for something more. I think it was because when I was looking for something more specialized, that popped up. And everything was always in alignment at the right time. And then breathwork fell into my lap as well. I never thought, even years ago, I didn't even know what breathwork was. And I remember writing in a journal, like just over a year ago, after a meditation, I wrote like breath, movement, body work. And I'm like, I want to help people more than just one-to-one, because right now with my practice, I was helping one-to-one, and I could like see in visions that I'm like, I just see myself working with a group of people, but I didn't know what that looked like. So again, just following the threads. And it's funny that I wrote down breath because I'm like, okay. And then right after that, a lady I follow on Instagram created her first ever beta program for breathwork. And I signed up for it before even doing breathwork. And then I laid down and did it. And I was like, this is amazing. It was just an interesting experience where I'm like, yeah, I'm sold, I'm in. And I think that's just kind of how things just kept going. It was just following those nudges and those pulls. And since then, it's helped me become so much more mindful and intentional of those choices and what feels right. So yeah, it's just been a really great journey, like 5 or 6 years. I love it.
It's beautiful how when you are ready, spirit brings it in. It's like you think, like with the Bowen and saying you want to get something to move along on a different or to add to the cranial sacral, and the Bowen came along, and then the same with the breath work. It's you are very good at manifesting.
Oh, yes. And it's just funny how the right people come in. Like I asked for help from someone. I went and had a reading from a lady I worked with in the past, and she's so lovely. And she's like, I think you need to reach out and ask. And then I did. And then I'm like, yeah, Bowen. And I was like, wow, I've never even heard of it. Let's try it. And it's just so things I've never even heard of, right? Like, and then I felt like a connection to it. I'm like, yeah, that feels right. Right. And then it's funny because you feel that visceral fear. I remember with breathwork, it was a bigger investment and I had to sit with it. And it was funny because I'm like, oh, it's expensive. Like, oh, I don't, and you sit with all those things. Like, should I? But then like still, even in sitting with it, that visceral yes still feels like it. And you're like, okay, I feel scared, but like but I also know that I need to do it. So it's really interesting when you can tap in. And I mean, even now doing more breath work for myself and others, like it just allows so much more of that connection of feeling what it feels like in the body, not always just in our ego, in our mind. Yes. Yeah.
So the awareness, your awareness has like expanded so much since you started to where it is now.
It's
where
so
the messages says come in and you hear them right away.
Yeah, and I mean, for anyone who follows astrology, I found out in hindsight that we have our solar return around that 28, 29, 30 years old. So for anyone who knows about your Saturn returns, for anyone who knows about your Saturn return, it happens around like 28, 29, 30. And things can kind of shift in your life to kind of maybe redirect you. And that's really what happened. Like I was 29 when I was taking some of those courses, and I was like, wow, so it's taking me in a whole other direction that I would have thought, but it's so beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
So, because I find that with all of these, it seems to be that you are drawn to modalities that are very gentle.
They are gentle, aren't they? Yeah, they're also gentle. They're like non-invasive. And what I love the Bowen and Cranial because it is working with the body, and you're doing it in a way where it's like, I'm not here to manipulate. I'm here to like almost like encourage and do the movement and and trying to activate the body to kind of create the change. And then with breath work, it lets me step back and be the guide and the facilitator, which I love with Bowen as well. But and it really gives that self-healing to the person. I'm not about the technique that I use isn't about pushing and really driving that to create really big, but it's just allowing the person to create the change that's needed for them in that moment. And they can alter and change their breath as needed. And it's so beautiful to kind of give that power back and to let them feel it for themselves. Yeah. Again, but it can still be just as gentle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it is, all of those are very empowering for the client. They do have a direction. And that's what I love about Reiki and shamanic Reiki is you're stating your intention when you come into the session. So you are directing how your treatment, how your session is going to go based on your intention.
I love it.
That's the same with, I find, even with the breath work. When you're doing the breath work, you do have an intention when you start of what you would like to work through. And so that's what will direct what comes up when you're doing the breath work.
Yeah, with pause breath work, where I did my training through, we're all about intention and integration and embodiment. And that's a big driver for our session. So when I'm creating a group session, it can be me creating that theme, intention, and mantra, or working with a small group to create what is it that we're here to do. And then especially with one-on-ones, as you know, we find what it is that we're looking for. And it could be anything from letting something go or like releasing to I am power, I am abundant. It can be something so like energizing, like I am clarity, I welcome and I trust my intuition. So it can be anything from like wanting to let go and move through and release to like inviting in. But yeah, it's intention based. And then that integration of like, how do we like bring that into the body and then like move forward with that? So you're right. It's so beautiful to keep it intention based. Yeah, I love it.
So right now you are, because I know that you have a space in a fitness, is it or a yoga studio?
So right now I'm working out of a space and we just got the okay. We get to open on Monday. Oh my God. After the release of the restrictions. So yes, it's a new build. It's a brand new building. It's beautiful. It is what it is it's got the clinic that I work out of, and then it's also got like a cafe, coffee shop with like local food, coffee, wine, like kombucha, things like that. And then it also includes a yoga studio with 2 floors, 2 yoga studios. Yes, it's a beautiful space. Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you be offering at this space?
So now that restrictions have eased up, this whole building just opened February 1st. So we weren't really open for too long before COVID hit. So now it's really shifting things. But now with the restrictions being eased, I definitely am going to be offering the Bowen technique, which is a like soft tissue hands-on technique. And it's like rolling moves over muscle, fascia, tendons, and whatnot to address the nervous system, to help kind of bring back a correction, to ease tension and ease pain, ease misalignment in the body. And it has a variety of indications that it can be used for. And I'll be doing that for sure, because we can do that with all of the health regulations. And then I'll still look at bringing on cranial sacral therapy and Reiki as well, and see what that looks like for clients, because I'll be in the room a lot longer. And so we're going to look at whatnot with masks and the sanitization protocol. So I look at offering them, and so we're going to see how that goes moving forward and what people are comfortable with. With breath work, now that yoga studios have opened up restrictions or eased restrictions, I believe breath work is now something that I can do. So if people are gathered, again, following the rules, but if people are gathered doing yoga, then breath work is something like you're still breathing just as much. So I'm going to look at how that looks going forward with in-person classes and in-person one-to-ones. But I also have been offering virtual sessions as well. Now, the difference between an online session and an in-person session is in person, I get to be there to offer like some physical support. So I mean like pressure release, grounding, really light. I mean, I'll add in some Bowen and some soft tissue work if needed. And I'm just really there to support and facilitate the body, because as we breathe, we can feel into some physical and emotional responses. Mm-hmm. So online, they're just as powerful. It's just I'm here guiding and cueing over Zoom. So for now, I think I'll keep those online until I can kind of navigate what it looks like to do in person. Yeah.
And yes, with the breath work, that is definitely, I feel, a modality. Especially if you're doing group, that it works really well.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Yeah, it's quite interesting with groups because it's so beautiful. And until I had, prior to doing my in-person training, you know, you're just doing your own breath work. You're lying down by yourself in the comfort of your own home. But when you're exposed to other people also breathing with you, it can be a very powerful experience, because everyone can have different experiences, and it really puts you in a space where when you hear someone maybe crying or laughing or feeling upset, like processing what they need to process, it really gets you to sit with like, am I okay? Like, is it bothering me? Does that bring up something in me? But then there's also that beautiful collective energy of the intention, because I mean, we're all sharing breath. So we're all in this collective healing energy, because like what I breathe out, they breathe in, right? So it's like a really beautiful space. And I keep classes usually pretty short so that I can be there to facilitate and help others, right? So that people can try and get as much attention as they might need. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be nice to do that in person. I can't wait.
I know. I found the first one that I did with you was so, I felt so peaceful afterwards. I felt very, very relaxed. And the second one, I had some things to work through that I didn't realize I had to be releasing. I thought, oh yes, I'd already released it. And so it was definitely a good awareness piece for me to find that though I thought I had cleared certain things that, you know, so that I could move forward with my intention, was no, I hadn't cleaned up that stuff yet. And so no, I can't move forward with my intention until I get this stuff cleaned up.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You're beautifully aware too. So it's nice to come into that space and kind of feel into like what you kind of know. And then with someone being new to work, like whether it's Reiki or any other kind of energy or healing work, it's so beautiful for them to start building that within themselves to be like, oh, wow, I never would have thought about that area, right? Or like, what does that mean? And it can create so much curiosity. So it can be so beautiful. And yeah, it was like so good. I'm so grateful that you were part of my practicum, because yeah, it was so nice to see you and the awareness that you have, and then like how it can open up and get you to be curious on what you get to do next.
Yes. And another part that I really enjoyed with the breath work with you was then you gave me homework to do, which was good because it just settled it in further. Like
Yes.
it helped to go and help me to integrate what it was that I was.
I like how you use the word integrate too, because what we focus on is, because breath work is really like, for me, it's like this umbrella term, and it really just relates to breathing techniques and patterns, because breath work is not new. I mean, it has many like outlet, like modalities, or I'm trying to think, like schools or type techniques, because there's like holotropic and rebirthing and pranayama, which goes back, with yoga. So with pause, we focus on two types of techniques. We have our meditative and our integrative. So that's why I like to use that word. And integrative is just a handful of breathwork patterns that we can put together in blends and then use throughout the day, like in the morning, like just something kind of quick, or to shift the nervous system, whether we want to like energize ourselves or we need to like de-escalate, calm down, and regulate our nervous system. And then the meditative practice is what we also did, where it is a very body-based meditation where we're lying down and breathing for a longer period of time. And the goal and intention is to go a little deeper and more transformative and really like move that energy through. So yeah, so the integrative is the great for the homework part, where it's like, here are some things you can do if you need to do it throughout the day when you wake up. And then, yeah, I love it.
And the part that I really like about the meditative one is that by doing the breath work and just it allows you to sometimes let go of those barriers of walls that we have placed over our emotions, that we have placed over experiences that have happened when we were children. And we pushed it down and pushed it down. And by doing the breath work, it helps to loosen up that wall or that constriction that we have there, so that we can that it can come up and then be released. So yes.
Yeah, it really, one of the benefits and one of the purposes of it is to really kind of like bypass the ego mind, because as we breathe for a long period, and then depending on the intensity and the depth and speed of that breath, it does create physiological changes in the body. And so the brain or our mind can come in and be like, even when we're meditating, sitting and meditating, the brain's like, I got better things to do. Mine is always, I've got better things to do. That's always me. It's like, why are you lying down? You have better things. You need to do this and this and this. You've got, like, you could even just go in the yard. Like, you shouldn't be wasting your time. And that's my story, is like, what are you doing? And so doing that is really a chance to try and shut the brain off, because we tell clients that the first 5 to 7 minutes, the brain might want to chatter. And if I can't get into my body, I don't actually feel that full, deeper experience. So I know when I've had sessions with myself, if I can't let that go, my brain, my session isn't quite the same. And maybe all I get out of that session is just that time to breathe and try to slow down. But when I can really just like focus on the body, focus on the breathing, and again, the intention and the mantra, which is great when someone's facilitating because they can speak with you. You get to tap into that deeper stuff. And that's where you start to feel like all those, like sometimes like the tingles or the energy or the cold and the hot and old like vision or old memories, like things that might come up that we suppress, right? That might want to come up and heal. And then there's instances where people, we all have had different types of trauma, and it's all relative. So whatever can come up, some people aren't even ready to go there, or they're not ready to process or go deep. I've had some people acknowledge, they're like, I could tell that I was like bringing something up and I wasn't ready to deal with it yet. So I just didn't want to deal with it. And I'm like, great, but what a beautiful awareness, because like, I'm not here to push you to have this big experience, but the fact that you're trying and maybe eventually it'll come through is also great. Yeah.
Yes, it's in that respect that sometimes some people may need more time to release or to work through, to allow that to shift and to be released. The sad part is that sometimes we just hang on to, it's like it's become part of our identity.
Oh, like our beliefs and patterns
Yes.
are so
Yes.
interwoven. Yeah.
And so going and having the courage to say, yes, I have had enough of that being in my life. I am now ready to release it and to let it go and be able to operate from a place of being more healthy and whole. Is it's sometimes can be a very scary idea, because you are so used to the pain and so used to coming from that base.
Yeah, where the pain feels more comfortable than to like venture out of the change. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So for people who may have that, like sometimes it can be quite traumatic to have to release that. So once they have released it, what advice do you, or what homework or tools do you give to your clients to help them to integrate the healing and to be able to go past the habits or the old patterning that was there?
So I try to, I mean, because I'm not necessarily like a coach or a therapist or a counselor of any sorts. Sometimes I won't go super deep in trying to analyze and try to like get them to solve the problem. If something is really, so I have an intake form that I always have them fill out prior. And so if they've experienced and acknowledged, and we get a chance to talk about any really like deep, maybe emotional trauma, physical trauma, that they're aware that has happened. And sometimes this stuff happens where we forget about it and then it can come up and we're like, but if I know in advance that someone has experienced some sort of trauma, I would chat with them, because I might not start going as deep so fast. I might start with more like those integrative techniques I talked about. We might do like very shorter periods of breath work and see how they are, and almost like dip the toe in the water and to see how they feel, and see what comes up, see what they're comfortable with. Because if someone has experienced a trauma of sorts that has their nervous system a little heightened or wired, or they're in that fight or flight, I mean, it's hard. Who am I to say what they can and cannot do, what they can and cannot handle, how much they should be pushed? Like, I'm not here to say, breathe, because we're going to push through all of that. Like, who am I to know their body and know what they're okay doing? So it's very much of, if I'm an awareness of, that's why I find those forms so important. If I'm an awareness of where they're coming at, to meet them there. And again, even with a physical injury or any other like health contraindications, I always will start with something gentler, softer. Let's dive in and see. But if someone, say someone comes in and they have an experience that they are like something comes up for them that they weren't aware of, and it was a surprise, I definitely will listen. I mean, it's just listening, because at the end of a session, I ask if they want to share what came up for them, how their body's feeling and whatnot. And also, we try to stay in the body and not just jump to the mind and start analyzing and trying to make sense and create the story and the narrative, because that's what the brain wants to do. The brain wants to create the narrative. What's the story? How do I stay safe and figure it out? So it's always like staying in the body and seeing how it feels. And I mean, if someone needs to and they express something on a very deep level, I mean, I might encourage them to find someone to talk to, like a professional who can support them if that's the case. If it's something that I feel I can support with, it might be staying in the body with me a little longer, meditating and grounding. Some people, following a very powerful session, like I'll say maybe a breakthrough, because you don't have to have a very big emotional, physical session to have a breakthrough. It could be very internal. And so when we roll over and kind of like in yoga, when you roll to the side, I just let them, I'll go actually and hold space. And if they're okay to have touch, I might sit there and offer support and be with them and support them so they're not alone and help them feel safe and allow them to kind of be. But then afterwards, I definitely will, I can if people are journalers, creating journal prompts, like I'll send like post-care stuff, like maybe find some things that or some self-care. So whether it's like an Epsom salt bath and drinking water or walks, like, I mean, you know, here in the winter, you wouldn't want to go out for a walk, but now it's so nice. And then supporting them as best I can. And if it is integrative exercises, like such as breath, like, you know, if meditation isn't for them and it's every morning, I can say, you know, sometimes I'll say, pick a song you like. That's maybe relaxing for maybe, you know, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and maybe slow down and breathe and feel into your body and connect. So just little ways that I can support them if I'm able. And if it's something that is a little beyond my scope, I can definitely encourage them to find someone to talk to, because maybe that's the next step that they might need. Yeah, if that makes sense.
It's that makes so much sense. Yes.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. And I just realized as you were speaking, Leslie, that you mentioned the yoga studio. Mm-hmm. You never gave us the name.
Oh, so
no, I have no name and no location.
Okay, so the building itself is called Crystal Palace. It's located in Bridgeland, and within Crystal Palace are the three businesses. So I work with a beautiful little clinic space called the Way Holistic Collective, and like myself, and then plus we have there's other practitioners there who are like TCM acupuncture, massage, there's a hypnotherapy, and there's a lady actually I think who might do Akashic Records as well, and what else is there? I think a myofascial thing like that, like a needle. So there's a handful of us there. It's so lovely. And then the yoga studio is Yoga Sarana. And then so we all have our own, and then there's Cab City Cafe, which is again like locally owned, and like good food, coffee. It's so lovely. I think they're going to open up the inside seating when they're able, but right now they've been this whole time over COVID, they've been offering like pickup and takeout, and so you can go and grab a coffee. They actually I think do like Uber, DoorDash, I don't know, but yeah. So there's 3 businesses in one building. So yeah.
And so if somebody wanted to make an appointment with you, they would contact you, or would they contact the Way?
Either or. They can contact me, and especially with COVID, if they feel more comfortable, like regardless, I'll have to reach out to them anyways because of COVID. So if they book in online, because they can go through our website, like thewayhc.com, they can go there and book online because it's through our site. They can use the Mind Body app. But they can also like contact me, because regardless of any new bookings, we have to reach out right before, and just ask all those like kind of questions to make sure like you're safe to come into the building. And then I'm going to use that extra time as well to maybe just chat about what they're looking for and how I can help to kind of minimize the amount of time in the space for now, which we're trying to create that essence of care and nurturing and healing as best we can in these like, you know, times of restrictions, which kind of makes you sad because you just want to care and help people, but it's like, oh, but I can't be here too long. Like,
so how often do you do your online or because I know you mentioned that you have one coming up,
right,
through some other practice or some other studio.
The online sessions. Yes. So I'm going to be doing that for the community, a studio here in the city. But then I'm also offering, I just posted it on my social media on Instagram. I'm just going to host a donation-based on like intro to breathwork Zoom next week on Wednesday evening. And I think I have about 15 spots available. Like I'm keeping it not too big. I want to be able to make sure I can support and see everybody while they breathe. And it'll be kind of similar. Like I'll just do a little bit of conversation and chat, check in, share with them what breathwork is. Mm-hmm. And then we'll do a few little exercises, and then like a lie down, a meditative practice, but not not as long as I might do on a one-to-one. So group ones, I'll just be advertising through Instagram, because that's the way, and then also I think with the way they'll probably share on theirs as well. And then one-to-ones are easily bookable through the way as well on Mind Body or on our website. And I mean, and then they just get booked in, and I can do them virtually for now, and they just get booked in the same way. It's just it'll be in through Zoom, and I'll have to have them still connect with them and find out about the medical form and make sure that I know how to plan for them. Yeah, so that's what it'll look like.
So your community one that you're going to be letting people know on Instagram, how often are you doing it? Once a week or?
That's just interesting. I just started doing it. It took me a little while at the beginning of the quarantine and the isolate, the kind of, I don't want to call it lockdown. I hate that term. But when we were all more isolated, I kind of really took a step back, and I needed time for myself to like process everything and not being able to work in both jobs. And so now it's nice to get back into doing it. And so I guess I haven't decided if I'm going to do it weekly. I guess I'm right now just kind of just testing the waters and see, is there an interest for it? Are people interested in doing it online? Are people like, and it's nice to do, but to do all that, so we'll see how many people are interested, and if people are, if it's for them, if they want to do online. So I've done one so far, and I had a nice little group of people show up, and got good feedback. I mean, it's not the same either, because I want people to hear the music and be able to relax as well by doing it through Zoom, as you know, with your practice, right? We were testing that out. So I think once we open our doors at the way for some in-person work, it'll be nice to see how much to do the Zoom ones. Saying that because if I can start to find a space, whether it's the yoga studio where I work, or another venue, I might be able to start small and start in-person ones as well. The virtual is great because I can get people outside of this community and work with more people. So I think it'll be really nice to see like what kind of feedback I get, how much interest there is before making it like a weekly thing. I might do it maybe a couple times a week and do it virtually, so people who aren't in the city can come, and then I can also start looking at doing them in person again. Like I said, if yoga studios and gyms are open, they're not going to say, they don't say breath work from our government. So I'm assuming that if a gym can open, I can open with limited people, very spaced out, and keep everything sanitized and wear a mask, because I can't have breathers wear a mask. That's not safe. So so I'll have to see. I'm playing with that right now. I'm going to see how it goes.
Well, it'd be lovely if you could, that people do have the option of either coming in through virtual or coming in person. And the lovely part is, of course, with virtual, is they can be from anywhere in the country or the world coming in and enjoying it. So, yeah.
And some people still are being a little extra careful and mindful of doing things like public services and whatnot, especially if if someone is around immune comparable people or isn't really going out just yet because maybe they've got a family member who might be more of a candidate, right, with health. So it's a nice way to still offer that service for people who might need it and don't want to come in person. Yeah.
Just a couple of things. First of all, because it's one of my favorite with you is a cranial sacral.
Oh, cranial. I love that.
So for those people who have never had cranial sacral, how would you describe it? Because I love it, and I just like
so gentle. I love it. I love how gentle it is. So I guess how would I describe it to make it? So it's got its basis in osteopathy, but it isn't addressing or doing anything with the skeletal structure. It really focuses on the fascia and the soft tissue of the body. And so what makes it so gentle is massage can be a little invasive in the way that they're really working with that muscular level. So we're working with that soft fascial level, like kind of like just underneath the skin. And so the weight of pressure is so gentle. We get taught about 5 grams, so it can vary on that. And the goal of it is to kind of listen in to the body and feel for what they call the cranial sacral rhythm. And that rhythm is produced in the body. It's kind of like how we think of our heartbeat or our pulse or our breathing, but those ones are kind of constant, where this one just kind of stays the same. Like our heartbeat can change based on our nervous system, and same with our breath. But this rhythm can stay the same, and it's created with our cerebrospinal fluid. So there's a whole thing there. But we listen to this rhythm just to see on the body in different areas, if there's any like restriction in that rhythm. Is it feeling a little like sluggish? Is it feeling a little like, from left to right? And then we just kind of work with the body in different areas and really work with that fascia. And what's so beautiful is it's just getting the body to show us what it wants. So when you sit in and sink in a little, your hand almost just like floats and is guided, and it helps to release all that fascia, so that all the underlying structures, muscle, like our nervous system, all that the goal is to help that function. So when our fascia is like stuck, everything underneath might not want to move as well. And it also is so beautiful because we can work with the bones of the head, and we can work with trying to help with them, like in those, and help them become a little bit more soft as well if they're getting stuck and creating tension. And so, yeah, it's just a really another gentle, beautiful way of getting someone's body to kind of guide us and show us like, what do you need, right? And like listening in, like, where do you need the help? Where is there a restriction? And it might not always be where the person has the pain or where they think. It might be somewhere else where like that's the priority. So it's, again, really tapping into what is needed. And again, it's just so gentle. I mean, I honestly, sometimes I could spend like the whole hour of a session on like one area, just because like the body's just like loving it. But people are like, why is that? You're only doing my stomach? I'm like, your body,
but it feels so good.
And so gentle, and it's so nurturing, and working with the, sometimes there's some movements in it where you're working with the sacrum and the head, and you're finding that like with the spinal cord, again, it's so gentle, but you're just almost giving it that little support. So it can be very like comforting and nurturing. Like it's so gentle. Yeah. So it's not quite massage. Everyone's like, is it massage? I'm like, no. So some people get disappointed because they're like, well, that didn't feel like anything. I'm like, oh, but that's not the outcome. That's not the intention behind it, right? It's not to create this like invasive correction. It's to really just soften and allow the body to open up so that it can just start to function. Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons with my interviews is just there are different modalities, and different modalities resonate with different people. And we are some people love massage, and some people love Thai massage and just getting pummeled and moved around. And then there's others who like it to be more the gentler. Like for myself, I am not my body doesn't respond well to massage. It tightens up and it goes, oh, and I feel so achy afterwards. Whereas I come in to see you and I fall asleep on the table. And then you say we're done, and I'm like,
they start to fall
really? Can we keep going?
No, and that's what I love with Cranial, is you're just lying on your back the whole time, kind of like with your work, when you're just lying on the table and getting a reading, and you just are like, you're so relaxed. And with Bowen, typically I'll start with them lying on their stomach, and then we flip over, and usually I can hear them somewhat sleeping in that very beautiful meditative state. I'm like, we need to turn over. Sorry to wake you. But it is, and you know what? That the beautiful test to that is that when we get so relaxed, we're shifting into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is where our body can soften and heal, and our digestion's working, and everything's just ready to be in that state. It's like welcoming. It's like, I'm ready to be in this state. So when we're in that fight or flight, our body's not like, it's not ready to heal. So like when we're in chronic stress or chronic pain or discomfort, like we're not in a space to heal. So again, with breathwork or with those, like when you can shift out of it and let your body just relax and feel that, it's like the best time to get that healing. It means your body's like, I'm ready. Yeah. For those, and you're right though. I mean, I'm a test too. I can't do I'm not a fan of all modalities that are out there. I find the ones that I love and I stick with it. And so, yeah, it may not be for everybody, and that's okay too. And it's just, if it's there to help and support and people feel better, or feel connected and feel educated and become more aware in their everyday, then like, okay, wow, I'm more aware of this now, or I'm starting to notice this differently in their everyday, then that's really all you can ask for, whatever the modality is, right?
And also, I think it's also what they are looking for, right?
Right.
It's that intention, right? What
Yes.
is your intention when you come? And
Yeah.
and maybe their intention, the way that their intention is, or the way it's worded, I just like, I don't know if I can help them because
They're already maybe a bit of a
yeah,
block.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just,
And maybe, and sometimes too, it's realizing that as a practitioner like yourself, it's nice to know that sometimes we get to work in collaboration with other practitioners, and sometimes we're just that stepping stone to what they need to do next, right? Like they're like, oh, like nothing else has helped. It's like, okay, well, maybe this is where you need to be now, and finding. And so that's why with, with, again, that's why I think one of the reasons I love breath work is that I'm not here to say like you're going to feel better or this is going to happen or this is like a big shift you're going to experience. It's, you're going to experience what you need. And if it's something you love, great. Or if you just relaxed, or if you cried or screamed, like it's okay, because it's whatever you need to do for you. And it really like lets that go. And I can just be here, facilitate and hold space, which is beautiful. And then with Bowen, I mean, if it's, or craniosacral, if people try it and they get like, however they feel, then they can either continue or take the next step or try something new, and it's part of their journey. And yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's depends all on where they are on their journey. And sometimes, yes, we are the next stop in the journey. And from
Yeah.
there, you may stay for a night or two, or you may stay for longer, and then you
Mhm.
may go on to something else, or you may go on to something else and come back. I find that
Mhm.
with Reiki and shamanic Reiki is, I have probably about, I would say, 4 or 5 modalities that I love to do at different times. Um,
Yeah, me too. I
like
find like,
cranial sacral and the Bowen at one time, constellation workshops at another, the breath work at another,
you're
you
right,
know,
and start to just feel called to what you need. And I think that's what's so beautiful. Like when you find a handful that you love, and I think I'm the same. Like if I'm kind of getting curious, where I'm like, ooh, I kind of just feel a little lost, or I kind of want some guidance, like then I come see you for an Akashic Records reading, right? Or if I just want to feel more relaxed, I might come do the raindrop therapy because it's just so relaxing, and the smell, and I'm like, oh, it's like invigorating. But if I'm like, wow, I need something kind of deeper, I'll go look for Bowen and maybe massage. But then also if I'm having digestion stuff, like I know I can do digestion and like with Bowen, with the soft tissue, but I can't always do it on myself. So I might go to my friend who does acupuncture. And so it really depends on, that's what's so beautiful when you have a few that you love. You're just like, okay, I'm feeling I need this now, and I'm feeling I need this now. And sometimes you need a few in a row to just kind of like cement that in and kind of integrate and get that, and then you can keep going. Yeah, I
and
love it.
it's especially when you have and you build up. It's like, it's not something, awareness is not something that you just have just like that.
Mm,
It's like a muscle, and you have to work it and you have to develop
yeah,
it. And the more that you do, the more self-aware you become of what's going on in your body, what's going on emotionally, what's going on mentally. So sometimes if you find that you're getting on that treadmill again, you go, oh, stop, nope,
yeah,
step back. I'm not going there. That is not for me any longer. And making those choices and being able to do, as opposed to reactive medicine, doing
mm,
preventative medicine. So that
mhm,
as soon as we are aware of something starting to develop, it's like, okay, no, need to go and take care of this, or need to, whatever it is that you need to do in order to address
yeah,
whatever is coming up.
yeah. I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, love it.
So, Leslie, thank you very much for being a guest. And I highly, highly recommend getting in touch with Leslie, because yes,
I recommend.
your cranial sacral and Bowen is so relaxing. Like I said, I fall asleep on the table. And it's like, oh, the hour's up already. I don't want to get
Oh,
off the table. It's like, can we just keep going for another hour? It's like,
another
oh, so
hour. Just
beautiful.
want to stay here.
And then I'll just melt into the table, right? You won't be able to get me off at all.
Yes, I have to thank
And
you because your work is so special and is special as well. So, yeah.
And then as well, like with this breath work, getting in touch with Leslie, because whether it's group or individual, it is
powerful.
Yes, it is.
It's different too, because we don't ever think about just doing that intentional breathing. So sometimes, like, especially when I started, I'm like, I'm getting bored. Like, I just have to sit here and breathe. So it's very interesting and like introspective to be like, why can't I just sit here and breathe? Why can't I just sit and do this? Why is something else more important? And it's even just to ask those questions, because it is intentional. So it's like, and you're really going and then sometimes people will ask me after, like, how long was that? I'm like, you breathed for about 25 minutes. They're like, what? It felt like 5 minutes. And so sometimes when you're not in your mind and you're just in the body, it can just feel like time just flies. And you're just like, you just can feel so different after, and it can be so beautiful. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of putting it out there that maybe would you be interested in coming back at a future date, maybe in July, and taking our listeners through
breathing,
a time of intentional breathing.
I'd love to. Like, we can decide how long you want that. We can chat and decide how long you want that to be, because we want people to, we don't know necessarily people can like lay down, so we can plan something for, like, I don't know, we can do a short one where they can stay seated if they need to in a safe space. And that way we can make sure it's safe for people with potential contraindications. And yeah, I would love to. We can definitely chat about that. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Let's do that, because I think that would be a lovely way to spend.
Mm-hmm. Anytime. I love it. Okay. I did breathwork before I hopped on here. I'm like, okay, nervous system. My tool now. I love it. Mm-hmm. And when it's intentional, it's so different. It's just so different.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because you're breathing in that energy and you're aware of
focus. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice because I share a lot when I talk about it, is that our breath is, I think, is the only system where it controls, it's in control, or we can control, right? It's involuntary, or we have full control. So our body right now is breathing us. We don't have to think about it, or we can change how we breathe, and we have full control to create that. So it's like such a beautiful tool to have that we all have, right? Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. That's so true. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go and it can be autonomic, or you can make it. You can control the speed and the intensity of your breathing. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll dive in. I love it. We'll do that.
Okay. Well, that for a future date. Let everybody know now. Okay. Thank you so much, Leslie.
Thank you, Becky. Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. So thank you for staying with us and hearing all about. Thank you to Leslie for letting us know all about the beautiful benefits of breath work, as well as bone therapy and cranial sacral. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of hers. And with Waves of Key Energy work, I have Reiki, shamanic Reiki. I am doing online, so you do not need to. We do not need to be in the same city. I can do it either through Zoom or through Skype. I have clients in Norway and Vancouver, and here in Alberta, we are. I am seeing people outside, like having people outside of Calgary coming online with me, and I've also got a client from Colombia. So, if you are interested in seeing the benefits, feeling the benefits of an online Reiki, shamanic Reiki session, please feel free to give me a shout out at either my email address, wavesofkey@gmail.com, or you can give me a call at 403-680-8554, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, and have a good day and a good week.